All right, next up, we're going to be hearing about the work of the Manuka Honey Appellation Society. The team has been focused on protecting the term Manuka Honey, primarily as a certification mark, with the criteria that the product is Manuka, being honey from the nectar of Leptospermum scoparium, thank you, and it's from New Zealand. This project is for the entire New Zealand beekeeping industry and is part of the New Zealand Inc. story. So here to update us on that is John Rawcliffe and Bobby Leaf, who is a beekeeper from Manuka Honey. Please welcome them to the stage.
Good morning. I'm impressed with everyone's still here after a fair few days. I'm sure most people here are thinking about dry July and how we're going to handle that. So welcome and thank you, Karen and the API NZ board for this opportunity. Last year I gave a presentation on protecting the term and I had a whole pile of information. That's online. I checked this morning, it's gone offline, but it was, if you want that to get in behind some of the information of what is a certification mark or what is a GI, it's all there, it's all online. So what I want to do is give you a bit of an update of where we're at. So all the background material is available online if you look at the API NZ last year's conference. So the other thing is, who's got a cell phone here, please? Can you, for the first time ever in a conference or a room or at a wedding, please turn it on? Please Google the Business Insider Manuka Honey, if you get a chance. Google it. The Business Insider is like a Wall Street Journal, but in an electronic medium. There was an article released on why Manuka Honey was so expensive. Within 4 days, it received over 1 million views. It's now up to about 1.7. That is the power of that term, Manuka Honey, in the mind of the consumer. That is the driving force for the consumer, that front label, Manuka Honey, that's what they look for, that's what drives the purchasing. That has the same power as champagne or Scotch whisky. When Scotch whisky launched, why was Scotch whisky so valuable? It received only 1.4 million views over 6 or 9 months. You are ahead of that. So that's the value commercially in the marketplace of the term Manuka Honey. When you look at the government reports from MB and the latest one that's come out, there was a joint process between MB, MPI, and it said the industry should turn Manuka to a champagne situation. So that's the goal, to protect it. So if you can protect it, you can protect your industry, you can add value to your industry, and you can advance the investment into your industry. So what happens if we don't? So just on what I get across my desk is the following. I gave this slide last year, and it's about all the countries that are looking at growing, planting, or harvesting Manuka honey. And I was challenged, okay, show us the details, show us some of the facts. So here's an email from a guy in a country, which one's this? I'm going blind. This one's in Italy, and he teases around and says, look, I'm keen to get this plant, I'm keen to put it in plant it in Italy, I'm keen to grow it, I want to harvest it, and I want to market it. So that's a real email from someone from Italy. We can move over. And here's someone from Spain. We have the environment, we have the opportunity here, we have the marketing arm, we're used to it, we want the plants, we want to put them in Spain, and we want to grow it, and we want to market it. And they've got every right to do that. So that's it. But here's one of the killer ones. This is a more fascinating one, and this is a guy in Serbia. So he emails and says, look, I've already got 2,000 seedlings, I want more, I want to advance this. I want to plant more. I've got the land, I've got the environment, it works for me. So someone in New Zealand, quite an intelligent individual, turned around and sold him sold them this document. There's a document came out in 2017 called the Manuka and Kanuka Planting Guide. It was a really good book. It told you everything about where to plant, how to plant. It told you about the environmental conditions. It told you everything you'd wanted to know, even the economics, how much you'd get per land. It was a very, very good Bible of all your information, all your intellectual property, so a beekeeper could actually do the economics of planting Manuka or Kanuka. But this gentleman said, that's a very good Bible. I'll just do a couple of changes. I'll do my own version, the Manuka Guide. But he did a couple of subtle changes in the book. He turned around and said, across Serbia, there is strong interest in growing Manuka, Leptospermins caparine, to diversify or supplement farm incomes, blah, blah, blah. That's one of the things he changed in the book. Instead of in New Zealand, he said in Serbia. So here's your intellectual property, all in a brilliant little manual, taken, the word changed, and sold overseas. And then, because he was fairly sharp, created his own economic model. And his own economic model said, guess what? You could get up to 300 kilos per hectare. This is brilliant. That's what I can actually do. So there's this guy in Serbia thinking, this is bloody marvellous. I can achieve all this. Well, I'll invest to it. And of course, at the end of the book, he said, you can buy your seeds or plants from me here in New Zealand. So that's a real example of someone taking all your intellectual property, packaging it up, sending it overseas, and said, come buy my seeds or plants. So that's the challenges we face. And if you noted in the beginning of this, I haven't said Australia once, but that's the world environment we live in. So, Tony mentioned it, and this whole conference has been about moving forward, collaboration, protecting the term Manuka honey. It's been about how we're going to have the other monoflorals and how we're going to advance, how we can actually build in behind protecting the term and actually growing the industry. It's quite key that needs investment. Now, protecting the term Manuka honey is just the same in my mind as building a bridge. It's like infrastructure. It's like a road. It's for the collective. It enables us to then advance and everyone can use. So it is infrastructure just as much as building a road or a bridge. And if we see it in that light, we see the responsibilities between government and industry and ensuring that this road is available to all and that we're able to use this road for perpetuity. So it is an asset for a New Zealand Inc. story. So what we have done is put forward an application to the Provincial Growth Fund. And the application has got the creation of a charitable trust in the interim to hold any intellectual property that lands, and then we are to spend some time with a full consultation model. So what's important is that as we advance this proposition, as we collect any intellectual property, that is able to land in an interim spot that is primarily between iwi and Māori groups and the industry, and then go through a consultative process. And Bobby's here to answer any questions on that matter in a few minutes. So that, yep. The next part of the application is being able to fund the science that goes in behind all that. So we need investment into collect the samples, we need investment into our international relationships. And as Tony pointed out on this side, if you think about it, and it happened overnight, it was released, we have to show or demonstrate in the filing to protect the term Manuka honey. Yes, a good definition, we have that in basis. We need to also demonstrate that we can detect against adulteration. So if someone, let's call it evergreen, or whatever else does such a thing, we can show and have the confidence in the consumer that it has not been adulterated. We need also the science to fully validate that it comes from New Zealand, and we also need the science, which is one of the most critical parts, is to prove it's Leptospermins caparine and not all the other species. So the science program is aimed to build up the resources so we can actually give that level of confidence around that term Manuka in a world market that those four elements are protected. and that have that level of assurance. Because as Paul Danstead said, we're about trust. That's a New Zealand position. And as a collective, that's what we must do. We must be able to demonstrate to the consumer that those elements can be actually demonstrated, that you know it's Manuka, you know it's from New Zealand, you know it's not adulterated, and you know that it's Leptosputum scoparium. Now in China in particular, they expect you to validate that. They expect you to be able to show it and demonstrate it. So you need to be able to work with some overseas partners and actually do that. And filing for these marks, different countries, different territories have a different way of actually looking at it. That's China's opinion. So working with them so we can have validation of market is an important aspect of those 4 points. The other key point in this is that we have to act as a country, we have to act as a united voice in this matter. Because we will not be able to do this alone in some territories. They need to see that this is an industry and a ministry and a government all committed to this cause. We cannot do it by shooting ourselves in the foot. So we can't do it without shooting ourselves in the foot. We may have the issues, but we need to be able to be very clear. We communicate those issues, that we don't undermine our core proposition. Therefore, please, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot as we go forward in this journey. Let's be assertive in the right forums in the right way, but be very careful about undermining everyone's opportunity. And that's quite important. So what I have decided is to shorten down to the last 5 minutes of my speech to questions. And that's why Bobby's here if we've got any comments. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably like to make a few comments as well. Is that there were a couple of key points that John made as investment. So we've built a fantastic industry over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and we've got a lot of our pioneers of the industry in here. I'm just a newcomer. So and I'd like to say thank you very much to those who led the industry and got us to this stage. And we would like to, as new members of the industry, take responsibility for growing this and keeping it sustainable going forward. First thing we need to do is have a bloody industry. We are so fragmented. Australia is strong because Australia is speaking as Australia. We're not. We're speaking as individual companies, individual ideas, individual opportunities. For what? 3,000 tonnes of honey or whatever it is that we're exporting as Manuka. It's a drop in the ocean. But it's the highest value product in the country, and currently we own that brand. Very shortly we're going to lose that brand. Our story as a nation, our story as a culture, and our story as a people is a bloody strong proposition in the market, but it's not strong enough when we're competing with other Manuka branded products from around the world who can produce it cheaper than us. Our production costs are too high to compete in a commodity stage. So it's bloody important that we get this term protected, and we all agree unanimously, we all agree collectively that we want to grow a sustainable industry. As we stand, we're not a sustainable industry. We don't have a sustainable business model. We're very reactive. We've been taking and taking and taking, and then when everybody's asked to give back and invest into the industry and invest into where do we go from here, our hands are straight back in our pockets. And it's hard times. I'm a beekeeper. I've been going 10 years. If I wasn't beekeeping the way we are and in the country that we're beekeeping, I would be broke than now. So the key is, and who here believes that we've reached the peak in terms of Manuka and where it's at? Good, because we haven't even tapped the surface of where Manuka could go. We need to collectively decide together and agree that, are we playing in the right space with this product? Is this product being used for its uniqueness? No. But we need to own that term Manuka first, and we all need to get together and say, where do we want to be in 10 years, 20 years, and 100 years? Because we need to build a 100-year plus industry and stop taking and give back first. So that's just my comment there, and I'm open to any questions.
Questions, please.
As someone who's viewing the sector from the outside, oh sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, go ahead, you started.
I was just wondering, I've been fairly involved and watched the Zespri model. Is anyone in the industry working to ban the export of said rootstock/seedlings, licensing that product?
On that matter, no, because this is Manuka is generally a wild plant. It's out there. It's freely available. No one has actually done what do they call them now, Peter? In terms of stock,
is it genetic profiling?
The answer is because of it's already been, it's freely available already. It's in our environment. The answer is we thought about that, but it is serious.
So was the Hayward variety. So was the Hayward kiwi fruit variety that was not protected, but they've still managed to ring fence that through various.
Yes,
methods?
some of the unique varieties within that. But again, the whole we have a significant stock in the Crown Estate. That's really available, that hasn't. So
do you have one unique Manuka plant that is only in New Zealand that is not overseas at this point?
We have the plant in New Zealand, I'm told, is 2 steps DNA different than anything else in the world. So it is, just as a matter of interest, the New Zealand Leptospermum scoparium is unique to New Zealand. It's formed, we've had it here for 2 million, we've been separated from Australia for 2 million years, it's evolved accordingly. In that separation, so we can measure the difference between a New Zealand Leptospermum scoparium and an Australian Leptospermum scoparium, and it's also been significantly picked up changes and variations because of our soil and climate and all that sort of stuff.
So is it worth protecting that?
Protecting the term is the key part.
Yeah, I think that's the key point, is that if the quickest and easiest thing we can do in terms of an application is protect that term. So let's take ownership of that and let's look after that for all New Zealanders. Let's get that into a trust and let's manage that. Second step would what do we do beyond that?
Yeah.
And I think these are all processes that definitely need to be discussed and explored. But what we can do right now is support this trademark.
So within the filing of application, we are using the science that says this is unique, here's a badge of origin, using the DNA example, using, I think it's one of the chemicals, 2-MAP or whatever, is significantly different here than in Australia. So that's part of the application to protect the term. That difference in a New Zealand plant is key to filing, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I've just got a quick question. Is this the Appalachian Society that's presenting this, or is it UMF?
Good question. It's got the UMF. This is the Appalachian Society presenting it, and on the slide it's got UMF. The UMF Honey Association started this in 2015. It only did it as an initiative because there was no one else that could have done it. We had the resources and we needed to be able to do it. If we didn't do it in 2015, we wouldn't be standing here today. The agreement and the modelling we have is that UMF is only part of it as an industry model and the protection within this trust. So it's purely been an initiative from the association to drive this forward, and they've funded 100% of it as of today.
And thank you for that.
UMF,
thank you to the UMF Association for that.
Oh yes, I think, the UMF Honey Association had its AGM the other day, and the message was, we have left our membership in the lurch for 2 years while we focused on this. The membership have actually committed 100% of their resources to get this as an industry model, and then it stands back from it. So I think the membership deserves some degree of credit and recognition for that vision. Yes, they'll get the benefit of protecting it just like everyone else. But that was an industry saying, we need to do this for the industry, and I think they deserve a fair amount of credit.
I agree, but I think it's really important that you just make it open, and making it open, that you also present it as an open opportunity.
Accepted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one more before you fellas take off. There was a question asked yesterday about Indigenous IP and how that potentially would be protected, or what sort of process that would be.
Yeah, thanks for that, Norma. So this is the first step forward for Indigenous IP. This is very unique in terms of protecting a term, and particularly protecting a term under that Indigenous category. And I think the proposition that's been pitched is that a trust would be formed, and the intellectual property for Manuka would be held in that in perpetuity for all New Zealanders and represented equally by Māori and non-Māori members, industry members, and the general public. And I think this is one thing that New Zealand as a whole, we're a single culture now, we're all one nation, and we're all partners in this country. And I think we need to look at, okay, where are the opportunities for us to start protecting brands? Where's the opportunities for us to start protecting industry? And if we can do that using IP through our cultural opportunity, I think that's a great thing to do in partnership with the rest of New Zealand. So this is the first step forward, and then it will evolve from here. And this is a great opportunity for us to look into other things like rewa honey, tāwari honey, because there's a lot of opportunity in these products as well. Manuka is just our first step forward. We've got a lot behind Manuka as well.
Kia ora. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, just one comment. If you